Roraback.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening.
Good evening again.
Madam President, many people suggest that no issue could be more difficult for a legislative body to grapple with than the question that we're grappling with this evening. And I think, Madam President, it's fair to say that people of goodwill, reasonable people, people of conscience disagree on what the right answer to this public policy question is. That's why we are experiencing such a spirited debate this evening. And people ask me, what issue could be more important than whether Connecticut has a death penalty? And the answer I give them, the issue which is more important than whether Connecticut has a death penalty, is whether Connecticut has a criminal justice system with integrity. Madam President, in my view, the integrity of our criminal justice system has broken down. And the legislature has been complicit in the breakdown of our criminal justice system by enacting legislation last May in the dark of night without the benefit of a public hearing, which has upended the lives of countless victims of violent crime in this state. By way of background, Madam President, when Governor Malloy was elected, he wisely appointed working groups to make recommendations to him and his administration about what appropriate policy measures should be priorities for your administration, Madam President, and the governor's administration. And one of those policy groups focused on criminal justice. And appropriately, the very highly respected Commissioner of Corrections, Teresa Lance, participated in that process. One of the recommendations that Commissioner Lance came up with was that the state consider instituting the use of earned credits, also known as meritorious good time, for low-risk, nonviolent offenders. Commissioner Lance opined, and I'm reading from her report that was given to the governor, that instituting early release for low-risk, nonviolent offenders could result in a significant cost savings with minimal risk to public safety if done appropriately. She said an early release program for nonviolent offenders could result in a reduction in the inmate populations with savings of millions of dollars annually. How, Madam President, we went from a recommendation from the Commissioner of Corrections in January of 2011 that we consider instituting a pilot program for nonviolent offenders to allow them to be released early from prison, to a dark night in May of 2011 when this Senate saw fit to pass a bill which is awarding retroactively good time early release credits to violent and heinous criminals. Madam President, the action this body took, in my view, represented a breakdown in the integrity of our system. And while that unsettles me, it unsettled a whole lot more the thousands of individuals in this state, victims of violent crime, and their families, who received a letter from the Department of Corrections from the Commissioner in September of this year saying, "Dear victim, the legislature passed a bill that is allowing the person who raped you, who killed your son or your daughter, the repeat drunk driver, to be released from prison much earlier than was promised to you at the time of sentencing." The commissioner said, "I know that for some, news of this public act is very unsettling." The commissioner's letter to the victims, I think, is an understatement of all time. When many victims feel victimized a second time when they go through the prosecution of a violent criminal, because the system doesn't seem to take much cognizance of what they've experienced. These are innocent victims of violent crimes, Madam President, and they go through years in search of justice. And a moment of truth arrives. They work with our victims' advocates, God bless them, our prosecutors, our judges. And in virtually every case, a moment of truth arrives where the victims' families are counseled by the victim's advocate and the prosecutor and the judge. Here's the deal. We can't prove murder. We're going to cop a plea to manslaughter. And the person that killed your loved one, either through drunk driving or with a weapon, they're going away. And hundreds and thousands of victims of crime have been told by prosecutors and victims' advocates, sleep soundly. The violent offender is going away, and there's no way they can be released before they've served 85% of their sentence. That's the law. And so victims, many of them grudgingly, have accepted these plea bargains and gone home in the clear understanding that the offender would be in jail for a prescribed period of time. Last May, in the dark of night, without the benefit of a public hearing, we passed a bill that turned those victims' worlds upside down. Madam President, they don't know what's hit them, but scores of them have reached out to our victim advocate in this state. Back in the 90s, I've been in the legislature long enough to remember when we passed the Crime Victims' Bill of Rights and amended our Constitution to contain provisions that ensured that victims would not be overlooked in the criminal justice system. And we created the Office of the Victim Advocate to ensure that victims would have a place to go when they felt violated. Madam President, the Office of the Victim Advocate is saying that their office has been overwhelmed with complaints from crime victims since the passage of the early release program. The Victim Advocate tells us that many violent, undeserving offenders are being granted risk reduction credits for reasons which defy logic and stand in stark contrast to public safety. And Madam President, if Senator Looney is going to admonish me for reading, I will stop reading before the admonition is issued.
Senator Looney.
Madam President, I believe that Senator Roraback seems to be addressing the substance of what we expect will be an amendment, but the amendment has not been offered. I think this would be better in the context of an amendment that had been moved.
Thank you,
Fair
Senator
enough.
Looney. Senator Roraback.
Thank you. Senator Looney's point is well taken, Madam President. It's as you know, we all try to tee up our amendments, and perhaps I have teed it up. I should get the club out and offer the amendment. So I'm happy to do that. I was on the cusp of doing that, Senator Looney, and the clerk does have an amendment, which is LCO 3048. If the clerk would please call the amendment, and I might be allowed to summarize.
Mr. Clerk.
LCO number 3048, Amendment G, offered by Senator Roraback, Senator McKinney, Senator Fasano, Senator Guglielmo, Senator Kissel, Senator Kane, Senator Boucher, Senator Whitkos, Senator France, Senator McLaughlin, Senator Markley, Senator Suzio, and Senators Welch.
Senator O'Rourke.
Thank you, Madam President. I move adoption.
On the questions on adoption, will you remark, sir?
I will, Madam President.
And the question is, does everybody have that amendment? Okay. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. What this amendment does or will do is restore integrity to our system of criminal justice, demonstrate to victims of crime that their voices do not go unheard. Madam President, passage of this amendment would repeal the Good Time Early Release Credit Program and its retroactive applicability. Madam President, we can have a debate about the public policy benefits which might or might not flow from a risk reduction program. But that debate should take place in the context of keeping faith with victims whose offenders have been sentenced previously under the clear understanding that they would serve a prescribed sentence. Madam President, I have met with many, many, many of these victims. What they're feeling is real. You can go on the website, and every day or every month, you can click on any offender in the Department of Corrections, and you can watch their sentence being reduced. Each month, victims of crime go on and say, wait, the person that killed my daughter was supposed to be in until the year 2027. Now they're being released in the year 2025. There's nothing they can do about it. Let me tell you about Patrick and Lee DeGrossi of New Fairfield, whose daughter was killed by her husband and who was convicted of manslaughter, cop to plea to manslaughter, and the family was told he would serve 27 and a half years, and now he will be released much sooner. And these are people that have all provided testimony to the Judiciary Committee, Madam President. The grandmother of Tro Bemis, a 27-month-old baby who was drowned because she was crying. The perpetrator of that crime is being released early because of good time credits, and the grandmother of that child is not very pleased with us as a state. Or Joan and Jack Foygan, their son, father of 5, killed by a 4-time drunk driver who is now being rewarded with early release credits. And Maria Matero, whose brother was killed, and who calls the action of the legislature a betrayal of her brother's memory. Madam President, this is really serious and important stuff. And these victims and their families are looking to us to restore their confidence that we care, that what was promised to them matters to us, that we understand when people are innocent victims of heinous, violent crimes, that they should be able to rightfully rely on prosecutors and judges and victims advocates when they're told that someone's going away and not getting out. What we did is allowing those people to get out. It's saving us millions of dollars, but I don't think there's any amount of savings that can justify our betrayal of their expectations. Madam President, I urge support of the amendment. I appreciate the Chamber's indulgence. There is something which matters more to me than whether this underlying bill passes or doesn't pass, and that something is the integrity of our system as a whole. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Will you remark, Senator?